What a win. Yesterday afternoon, relegation battlers Queen's Park Rangers beat league leaders Leicester City 2-1 at the King Power Stadium. Not only making it 3 wins on the bounce for QPR, but 3 successive defeats for the Foxes. That slashes the gap between first place Leicester and now second place Ipswich Town to just 3 points, having once been as wide as 14 points earlier this season. And it was a huge result for QPR at the bottom of the table too, climbing 2 places up to 19th after escaping the relegation zone last weekend. And that now means that Rangers, Birmingham, Huddersfield and Stoke all currently sit on 38 points. And with only 4 points separating 15th to 22nd, everyone from Swansea downwards is in real threat of being relegated. As usual, let's break down this absolutely massive QPR win. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I spoke in my last video about the fact that Leicester City, having lost their past 2 league games in a row, was either a really good or a really bad thing for QPR. Good because there was a potentially weak mental state for QPR to capitalise on ahead of this one, or bad because Leicester would surely be looking to take out their frustrations from their late capitulation against Leeds United last weekend against a potential relegation contender. Leicester did quickly respond to that Leeds defeat with a 1-0 FA Cup victory over Bournemouth on Tuesday night, securing their place in the final 8 of the competition and showing that they can go toe-to-toe with teams in the top flight. But only a win against QPR would prove that their heads hadn't gone in their bids to secure the league title. Either way, after a good run of form for QPR with just 1 loss in their past 7 matches, including against some tough relegation rivals, most Rangers fans were looking at this fixture as a bit of a free hit. We're not expected to beat top of the table Leicester City, and with them having just lost 1 of their past 10 home matches, no one would have felt too disheartened had we walked away from this one empty-handed, provided the scoreline was somewhat respectable and we maintained some of that momentum we've built, especially over the previous 2 back-to-back wins. I was really interested to see who Marty would pick for this match. It's testament to our January recruitment and his use of the wider squad in recent matches that I found it quite tricky to guess. Field was the obvious replacement to come in for the suspended Jack Colback, but would Marty stick with Jimmy Dunn at right back against one of the best wingers in the league in the form of Mavdidi, or would he want the pace of Cannon to try and combat that? Would he stick with the physicality of Frey up top, an absolute workhorse last weekend but clearly still lacking in a bit of match fitness? Would he go for Lyndon Dykes and use him in that kind of false 9 role? Or would he use the pace of Armstrong to pin back the Leicester defence and use him as an outlet? And finally, would the creativity of Anderson come back into play here to link up Chair and Willock? Or would he go for Joe Hodge again? There were plenty of options here, and so I was pretty pleased with myself that I managed to pick the right team before kickoff. So Marty, if you need another assistant manager, just let me know. Bresca opted to stay consistent with the league sides that he's been putting out, making just 2 changes to the side that lost to Leeds last weekend, swapping out the suspended Vestergaard for 19-year-old centre-back Nelson and Pereira for Pratt. And most notably, joint top scorer Jamie Vardy returned to the bench after missing the last 2 matches with a muscle injury. Now, unsurprisingly, just like at Loftus Road, Leicester City dominated the ball and chances here, with 70% possession overall and 18 total shots to QPR's 3. But unlike other matches this season when QPR have been limited to few chances, Rangers were excellent at taking those chances when they came. Patson Daka, a source of much frustration for Leicester City supporters this season despite his 7 goals so far, opened the efforts 5 minutes in when he took on Dewsbury Hall's flick on, juggling the ball past Steve Cook and somehow through Jimmy Dunn, but he couldn't get his foot through the ball enough to truly test Begovic in goal. Fatawu and Harry Winks would both have 2 shots each in the first half, with the winger going for the spectacular again after his wonder goal in the FA Cup, and Winks tried hard himself to recreate his long-range effort from their win at Loftus Road. One of their strongest chances of the half came in from a ball from Akgün, who came onto the pitch 15 minutes in to replace the injured Pratt. He cut into the box and whipped the ball in low past Begovic, but Powell read it fantastically and blocked the ball from the waiting Dewsbury Hall at the back post. But for all their chances and their dominance of the ball, this was their only real clear-cut chance of the first half, and our continually improving backline stayed resolute. We kept good shape, and Dunn and Powell in particular marked extremely well, with Dunn's positioning in particular limiting Mavdidi to very little down that wing with the help of Chris Willock. And it was a bit of Chris Willock magic that started the first half of an unthinkable result. Just like he did against Bristol City and Rotherham, he received the ball just before the halfway line, and despite being double doubled up on, smartly twisted Justin to open up space. Faze and Nelson completely misread the situation, trying to catch the QPR attack offside, but Dykes read it better and made an excellent run through and was set off with a deliciously simple through ball from Chris Willock. And suddenly we're in behind the Leicester City defence. Chair is free in the middle, Dykes has looked up, bobbled the ball across the pitch to him at the last opportunity, fooled the goalkeeper, and our criminally good number 10 tapped the ball in at the back post to make it 1-0. One shot on target, one goal. The audacity. It was a really, really well worked goal that caught Leicester completely on the back foot. Just like we've seen in the last few matches, Chris Willock is doing a lot of damage on the halfway line and making really good runs into space. And you've also got that top class run from Dykes not to be offside as well. And just the timing of the whole move really put Leicester into no man's land. What I find really interesting is that Marty is one of the only managers that has put Chair and Willock on opposite wings and had some real success in doing so. They obviously play much better when they're closer together. But now we've got the likes of Anderson in the middle to marry things up. You've got the improved hold-up play and runs of our strikers. And it's meaning we're much less one-sided than we were even 5-6 games ago. It was the perfect time to score too, because for all their efforts leading up to this, Leicester had no reply for the remaining 7 minutes and QPR went into half-time 1-0 up. Just very, very QPR, but to the point that a lot of people predicted this before, maybe didn't think it was actually going to happen. But there was still a job to do, and I'm sure I'm not alone in thinking at this point that I would still be chuffed to bits with a point should Leicester come back into the game. Both managers kept their sides the same at the start of the second half, with Maresca surely hopeful that with the number of chances they were creating that they would be able to find a quick equaliser. But that was not to be the case, because even though they dominated even more of the ball in the second period, they would have just one effort in the first 15 minutes via Patson Daka. And it would be Marty Cifuentes' first two changes, with Paul Smith on for Lucas Anderson and Sinclair Armstrong on for Lyndon Dykes, that would create our second bit of magic after Samfield won a free kick outside of the box. Now we know all too well that QPR are very poor at set pieces, whether that's defending or attacking. In fact, going into this match, QPR had scored just twice from set pieces, which is comfortably the league's worst. But somehow the stars aligned, because not only did Elias Chair manage to beat the first man with his ball, but he expertly picked out Jimmy Dunn at the back of the box and he nodded it on dangerously to Samfield on the penalty spot. And after he desperately tried to get that ball under control, the best moment of the day happened. Sinclair Armstrong took charge and absolutely rifled the ball into the back of the net, with his first touch of the ball just seconds after coming onto the pitch. I saw on Twitter that some questioned why he opted for the Jude Bellingham celebration, but it looked much more like a Jamie Mackie special to me. It's Sinclair's best QPR goal yet, not only because of who it's against and what that could mean for QPR's chances of survival, but because he hits it calmly and with intent and with power. And these are all things that we know that he has in them, but they're not really trademarks of his performances. And after being sidelined for the past 2 matches and not getting any part to play in the previous 2 wins, I was just so happy to see him have that instant impact. And he's clearly been working very hard off of the pitch while he's not been playing. It was inevitable that Leicester were going to come on strong from here, and so it was a very little surprise that they would find a goal back 4 minutes after QPR went 2-0 up. With Begovic first reading the flight of Dewsbury Hall's free kick really well, but then parrying the ball straight back into danger into the centre of the box for Nelson to follow in. And this is my only gripe from yesterday's performance, to be honest with you. Begovic had done the hard bit by reading the flight of the ball, but as he so often has done this season, he spilt the ball into a dangerous place, rather than tipping it over the crossbar or even pushing it out for a corner. For a goalkeeper that was brought in for his years of experience, we're not seeing it in these kind of opportunities, and we're really fortunate that this didn't end up punishing us. So that made it 2-1 with half an hour to go. And Jamie Vardy, Red Bull can smashed over his head and fag put out in the sub-bench ashtray, was summoned onto the pitch to replace Patson Daka. It was time for QPR to dig in, and dig in we did. Mavdidi, Akgun, Fatawu, Winks and Vardy all brought a barrage of efforts our way, but the entire team mucked in and did their part to preserve the lead. Morgan Fox replaced Chris Willock to add an extra body at the back and made an inspired contribution from the bench after being sidelined for so long. We not only stayed tight defensively, but it could have been 3 on 91 minutes, with one of Samfield's excellent blocks in the middle of the park setting off Armstrong and Chair with a 2v1 situation. But by the time the defence had tracked back, Chair couldn't quite wrap his shot into the corner. Paul Smith was impactful with his sub-appearance, intercepting and frustrating build-up play down that left wing. And as I say, Samfield, now able to play further up the pitch with our new anchor Hayden now slotted in, regained his shield status, not only breaking up play further up the pitch, but making yet another fantastic fantastic block to deny Harry Winks of a certain equaliser. Mavdidi, clearly frustrated by another Jimmy Dunn masterclass, went diving and searching for a free kick outside the box, but the ref was not fooled and Paul Smith was able to set off Sinclair Armstrong through on goal again. But another sign of his growing maturity was displayed, with him opting to hold up the ball and take it to the corner flag until the full-time whistle went. And just like Burnley away last season, QPR had done it again, beating the league leaders when it matters most. Now, as so often seems to happen this season, the results didn't quite go our way to have its maximum impact. Despite leapfrogging both Huddersfield and Birmingham to 19th place, it's only through goal difference that QPR remain outside of the relegation zone on 38 points. But it does now mean that 3 others join them on 38 points, and what the win has done is completely rip open the bottom of that table. Everyone from Swansea downwards is going to be looking over their shoulder, and with 11 matches to go, it's anyone's guess who will be joining Rotherham in the drop zone. And I say only Rotherham because after Sheffield Wednesday's 4th win in 5 matches, they sit only 3 points behind the 4 teams on 38 points. But although more results going our way could have really maximised the impact of this absolutely huge result, you only have to take away those 9 points we've gained over the last 3 games to see the impact they've had in keeping us in the mix. Without them, we'd be on 29 points, 6 points behind Sheffield Wednesday and 9 points adrift of safety. But as many say, all we need to do now is concentrate on ourselves and the 11 matches that we have remaining. Marty's huge impact and the resolve of this squad is showing, and we just need to keep building on those results one by one in this final period. A tough home match awaits on Wednesday night against West Brom, but with players and fans buying into the Marty Cifuentes philosophy, why not dream of a 4th successive win? Thank you so much for watching as usual. If you've enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And I'll see you tomorrow for my West Brom match preview. Cheers.